Hi, today's video is going to be about a small community here in northern Arizona, which is Stoneman Lake, Arizona. So let me tell you a little bit about Stoneman Lake. It is a small community about 30 minutes south or 30 miles south of Flagstaff, Arizona. It's actually nestled about halfway between Interstate 17 and Forest Highway 3. Now, Forest Highway 3 is the same as Lake Mary Road. And then there is Stoneman Lake Road. So if you're getting off on either side, Forest Highway 3 or Interstate 17, you take the Stoneman Lake Road exit. Now, Stoneman Lake exit is one exit past the Sedona exit, the 179 exit. So I live here in the village of Oak Creek. I can actually get to my home in the VOC to Stoneman Lake in about 35 minutes. So it's not that difficult to get to. Now the one thing is Stoneman Lake Road, I should say, is about a 14-mile road that goes between Lake Mary Road and Interstate 17. And it's mostly cinder. The first mile or so is paved, but then you go into cinder, and sometimes the road is a little rough, but that's how you get to it. Then you would, halfway between, there's this exit to the north that is 213A. So that's how you know how to get into Stoneman Lake, and then you kind of go down. It's kind of in this cratery-like area. You're going down, and then there's a lake bed, and then there is a small community, Ponderosa Paradise. You'll go over this little, it's not a bridge, it's a little arch, and you'll get into the area where there are cabins. Stoneman Lake is actually one of the few natural lakes in the state, and there's Stoneman Lake, Mormon Lake, and a couple of others, but there aren't very many natural lakes. Right now the lake is dry, but that's not always the case. When we have more water and we're not droughting for so long, the surface area of the lake is about 80 acres or so, and it's the very deepest point. It's maybe 10 feet deep. So when there is water in the lake, you can take a small boat like a canoe or maybe one of those small aluminum boats with an electric trolling type motor, but you can't launch an actual boat in there. Now, some people think that the lake was formed by a volcano. Other people think it's a sinkhole. Now, I tend to think volcano because, hey, we have a lot of dormant volcanic activity in the Flagstaff area. You'll see these cinders. I mean, they're lava cinders. So it makes sense that it would be some kind of a collapsed crater, as kind of like Mormon Lake itself is a little bit like that. And if you've ever been to Crater Lake in Oregon, it's beautiful. And it's, again, a billion times bigger than Stoneman, but it's kind of the same idea where you're a sunk-in area and then there's a lake at the bottom. So I think it's more of a volcanic, created from a volcano rather than a sinkhole. So the elevation of Stoneman Lake is about 6,700 foot above sea level, and so it's got a lot of terrain similar to Flagstaff. They're nice, beautiful, tall ponderosa trees. The weather also will be similar to Flagstaff, so the highs in the summer, maybe 80 degrees. I was there last weekend, and I'd say it was about 80 degrees. Low, maybe lowest in the winter, maybe 10 degrees. In the winter, maybe the high is 45. And then in the winter, the low might be about 45 as well. So temperatures, I mean, it gets cold. It does snow in the winter. Maybe not as windy as it can get in some parts of Flagstaff. That's about it on the climate. Now, what's there to do in Stoneman Lake? Well, there are a lot of things. It's kind of like if you had gone on a camping trip where you're in a little rustic wooded area, and you could go, if there's water in the lake, you can go boating, but if not, you can go sightseeing, you can take your quad and ride around, you could take a snowmobile down there in the winter if you have one of those. There's a lot of wildlife viewing. Every time I go in there, I see deer or maybe elk. People do bird watching down there. A lot of relaxing. If you like to drink, it's a great, kind of like on a camping trip, you would do that kind of stuff. Relaxing, sightseeing, hanging out with your family, that kind of thing. So once you go into the arch that says Ponderosa Paradise, there are about 170 parcels in there, and about maybe a third of those, maybe 60 or so, have cabins on them. And the cabins are on either half acre to a full acre, so they're not like super close together, and that's what kind of makes it nice, is you're a little bit secluded and you have some privacy. Right now on the MLS, there's only one home for sale, and that home is under contract. Now, I do know of another home for sale by owner, but I know the seller, and he is hoping that I will bring him a buyer, and then he will pay my buyer commission. And so if you're interested in seeing something like that, I could certainly bring you in to show it. And at the end of this video, I'm going to give you a little bit of footage of that particular cabin, just so you know what types of properties are in there. And there are 6 lots for sale right now, ranging from half acre to an acre, maybe $40,000 to $85,000 is the most expensive lot for sale in there. Now, I'm going to give you some pros and cons about owning a cabin in Stoneman Lake. I'm going to start with the negative, is that it is hard to get to in the winter. The road, when it snows, gets very slushy. Sometimes they will close the 213A to go down there, and it is a private road, so it's maintained by the county, but once you're at the bottom at the Ponderosa Paradise, it's a private road, and if you want to plow it, you have to do it yourself. But if the road is closed, that's kind of difficult. And so you can get there in a car during the summer, but in the winter, when the road's open, you're really going to need a 4-wheel drive because the road is very slushy. And I actually have some footage of trying to get into the road during the winter time and what you can expect. The lake is often dry, and that's a bummer. When we're in a drought season, the lake is going to be dry. I get bug bites when I go down there, more than, like, say, Mormon Lake or Flagstaff. Now, I do, if there's a mosquito within a mile of me, it will come find me and bite me, so I might not be a good example, but if you get some of this off stuff and spray your legs, then you're okay. But, you know, you do get bug bites down there, as you do anywhere in the woods, right? The other thing is there are CC&R, so there's no HOA, or at least there's no mandatory HOA. I think it's a voluntary HOA, but there are covenants, codes, and restrictions. So if you buy a lot, you cannot put a manufactured home on there, say. You have to build site-built only. And the other thing is it has to be at least 650 square feet. Now you can't buy a lot and then think you're going to bring in a trailer or a tent and camp on your own lot. That's not allowed. And even though there's no HOA, the property owners in there are going to they'll find you and let you know that you can't do that. Another thing is there's no power, so there's no APS. APS will never be there, so you have to be prepared to be off grid, and you're going to have to get solar panels which charge your batteries, and then you'll have to have a generator for backup power source when you have, you know, a week of clouds, say. So that's what the residents do, though, and they're able to do it, and it seems to be working out okay. One last thing is that there's no restaurants, no little country store, so if you want something, you gotta, you know, leave Stoneman Lake and go to either Mormon Lake or Village of Oak Creek or all the way up to Flagstaff. I think it'll take you 45 minutes to get to Flagstaff, but only 35 minutes to get to Village of Oak Creek, and about 35 minutes also to get to Mormon Lake, where you do have the country store and the restaurants and that sort of thing. Now, the pros of owning a cabin in Stoneman Lake area is that it is a very private, secluded area. So if you kind of like to be by yourself in the woods with not a lot of people around, but yet some, enough that, you know, you don't feel totally alone, this could be a good place for you. It's very unique, not a lot of places like it. Again, there's not a lot of cabins for sale, but every summer I do show whatever's down there, and I usually do sell something down there. You see a lot of wildlife, a lot of deer and elk. Every time I'm there, I see deer. Even in the middle of the day, which is not the time they're usually up and around, I see wildlife and cool birds, big blue birds, you know, very pretty. And most of the places are, like I say, on a half acre or a full acre, so you're not like right next to your neighbors, and it's way less expensive to buy a cabin in Stoneman Lake, say, than the places near Flagstaff, like Munns Park, even less expensive than Mormon Lake, and yet you do have that wilderness cabin-y feeling. So that's one thing nice. Now, I do want you to know that a lot of the cabins in there are fixers. So a lot of the cabins, I will show 5 or 6 buyers, and they like it, but then when they get there, they realize, ooh, I have some work to do. Not everybody likes to do that kind of work, but if you're kind of handy around the house, you can take something and make it really beautiful, kind of tailor it to your own taste, and add a lot of value to your property at the same time. So a lot of, I would say, really good deals in there if you like the secluded off-grid type of property. Let's see, you could take snowmobiles across the meadow that is Stoneman Lake. I don't think there are any restrictions. I guess I probably should check to make sure that's sure. And there is water from the spring. So you have a private water company. You don't need to drill a well. You don't need a well inspection if you sell. The water is very cheap. It's like $100 to $200 a year. And it comes from a spring. Stoneman Lake Water Company captures water from the spring and then provides it to the community down there. So the water is good. It even tastes good out of the tap. So that's really nice. Now, I'm going to tell you now about the one home that's for sale in there, excuse me. This is similar to a lot of the cabins that are for sale, but it has some very unique features. So it's smaller, it's only a 2-bedroom, 1 bath. It does have a garage bay, but it has a lot of unique features. It's on almost a full acre. There's a little fenced in area where there's a garden. Actually, the garden probably needs to be a little bit maintained, but there's a garden area there. There's a nice sitting area. There is a natural spring, though, and the seller has the water rights to the spring. So you've got a little spring coming up, and it makes a little stream down your property. It's really cute and tranquil and nice. Now, the other thing this cabin has going for it is it's got great views. From even inside of the cabin, there are great views, but if you're sitting on the deck, it's really nice. Now, I am sure this deck needs some work, so you'd have to consider that. You're going to either need to secure the deck or replace the deck, maybe negotiate that out with the seller, I don't know. But the deck needs work, but if you had the deck going, you would have one of the best views in all of Stoneman Lake. It's got a really cool fireplace. Now, I'm really into crystals and rocks and minerals, and this one has very interesting rocks into the fireplace. Like, I think I saw a aventurine, maybe some quartz. So that's something that's, you know, just something pretty to look at. And again, a very nice, secluded, private area where you can go and unwind. You can become closer to nature. And really, I think that's what a lot of us need right now, to get a little closer to nature, to get in touch with your inner self, and just enjoy the outdoor experience. So my name is Dawn Dickenson. I sell real estate here in northern Arizona. I have my contact information below if you are interested in finding out more about this cabin, about Stoneman Lake, or anything in northern Arizona. Just go ahead and email me. You could also make a comment, but I don't see those as often. Maybe every couple of weeks I check comments. And but yeah, feel free to contact me. I post a video about some northern Arizona topic every single week. I try to post on Thursday or Friday, but sometimes it doesn't happen until the weekend. But come back here next week and I will post something on a very interesting, at least I think it's interesting, northern Arizona topic. Again, my name's Dawn Dickenson. If you like the video, please hit like and subscribe. And I hope you have a good weekend, and I will see you back here next week.